Hey everybody, I'm Zee Garcia, and today I'm taking a look at a small card game co-designed by Wolfgang Kramer called Fat Fish. This is not a Friedman Fries co-design, but you wouldn't know it from reading the back of the box. Help Fret Fisher, fish for fresh, flamboyant, fat, fleshy fish. The fatter and more flamboyant the fish you fetch, the more fortuitous your fate. Ooh. So, in the game, you are going to be having your own deck of small cards that you've drawn from the common deck and playing your cards out into fishing lines, trying to score victory points, as many of those as you can, while avoiding the bony fish, the negative points you'll get from those lines. It's very simple. Let me give you a look at how it works. We'll come on back. I'll tell you what I think of this fresh, fat fish fun. To set up the game, we're going to deal each player a small deck of 12 cards, their own personal draw pile, and each player is going to draw 4 cards from that deck. So in this case, we're going to be taking a look at 4 players here. Then you flip over 3 cards to begin 3 fishing lines, and then you deal a small deck, best in the number of players over here, as a way to replenish these 3 lines, and you are ready to begin. So, on your turn, and you set this card into play as well, I'll talk about that later. On your turn, you are going to play anywhere between 1 and all 4 of the cards you are holding. You are going to, on your turn, you can play only into a single line, and you have to follow some rules. So, for example, if I want to play this card, it has to go to a matching row, and I'm only looking at the last card played. And this card becomes the last card played. And so this card I could play here, green on green, or I could play it there, green on green. I cannot play it there, of course, and only red could be played there. If I want to play this card, that color is not at the end of any one of the rows. So I can choose where I play it. I could play it there, I could play it here, it doesn't matter. So I can do that however I want to. So for example, if I did this, and then I want to play another card, I could play that, and then I could stop if I want. If I play this, and then I want to play this card, I cannot play it because A, I already played in this line, meaning I can continue playing there. And that's the only place I can continue playing. And B, it's not a legal play here because green is at the end of one of the lines. It's at the end of this one, but I can't play there anymore. I've already started playing here. But if I just reverse the order in which those 2 are played, then that's fine, okay? So let's say I do that on my turn, and once I'm done, I'm going to draw back up to 4 from my own personal deck, as I said, and it is the next player's turn. So the next player could play there, and then they could play this one here, because purple, I've already played in this line, and purple is not in any of the others. So I'm not breaking any rules. And so then I draw 2 cards, and it is the next player's turn. Oop, let me give them 4 cards. There we go. So let's say this player plays, oh, what are they going to do? They're going to play here, there, and they are going to play a red card, which is not at the end, okay, because this blocks it at the end of any one of the lines, so it's a legal play. As soon as anyone plays the 5th card in a line, then that card, that line is going to be scored. They're going to grab that line and score it. So that player there just played the 5th card in this line. And what you do is you are going to take a fish per color, and that becomes those are your fat fish. Those are your positive fish. So I could take this one in green, I could take this one in yellow, and I can take this one in red, and those are positive for me. I'm going to put that in front of me somewhere as my positive score. Anything else becomes negative scores. I'm going to flip those face down, and those are bad points for me. And then a new card is dealt from this deck that we put into play at the beginning of the game, that we set up with a specific number of cards. For 4 players, it contains 9 cards. And then that player replenishes their hand, it's the next player's go. And this continues going around until every player has played every card that they can. So I could do this and this, let's say, and I could even do that. And that player played everything. They're going to score this one, they're going to score this one, they're going to go score this one. That's positive. These 2 are bad. So those face down, these face up, new one in play, next play. All right? And so at the end of the game, it's very simple. You are simply going to add these up as positive points. This player has 13, and they lose this many from the bone cards, okay? Just the fish that they took as negative points. So that is, again, 13 minus 4. That player would score 9 victory points. That's the basic game. Very short and simple. You can also add a small variant in which you are going to play with these cards in play. You have an A, B, and a C. These 3 get shuffled, and you only use one of them, okay? And then all of the other ones are placed on the table and set aside somewhere. So for example, this one here is awarded at the end of the game, and you are going to do some of these, basically most of them, throughout the game. The way they work is, this one, for example, over here, you need to grab, when you have at least 5 cards, you have to have a small straight among that. So between, let's see, it says between a 1 and a 4, between a 2 and a 5, between a 3 and a 6, and any other 5th card. And you do that when you pick up a line, okay? So it's a line of 5 cards, and that is to be found among that line, those 4, any other 5th card. This one here says that when you pick up a line, if you have, if you get more negative points than positive points, then you get this. That's 10 points. As was this one, 10 points. This one, when you pick up a line at the amount, and the amount of positive points is equal to the amount of negative points you would be getting, 7 points for that. This one over here, when you pick up a line and the only cards found in it are 1s, 2s, and 3s, 7 victory points. This, when you pick up a line and they're all of a single color, 7 victory points. And this one, when you pick up a line and there's only 2 colors. So, I do want to mention, this reminds me that when you do pick up a line that is only a single color, say 5 red cards, instead of banking just 1 fish, the highest of course, and the rest are negative, instead you get 2 good cards when it's, again, a single color. So I would take the 2 best red cards, the other 3 hurt my score. And as I said, A, B, and C, you're only going to be playing with one of those at a time. So C over here says that whoever has the most 1 value cards in their deck gets 10 points. If you're splitting it with someone else, you each get 5. And then we've got these other 2 over here. A, that is awarded throughout the game and might change hands, in fact, says that as soon as one player has at least 1 value, a 1 value card in their plus pile, they get this license, the fishing license, and then if anybody else gets one, then this bounces from player to player. At the end of the game, it's worth 10 victory points. And then B, over here, says that it's awarded at the end of the game, and whoever has the fewest cards in their positive pile is going to get 10 victory points. Again, a tie being 5 points each. So that's basically it. And then the last thing is this card, which is always in play, and I'm sure I'll talk about it later, but I think it's pretty dumb, in which if anyone makes a mistake in the game, you stick them with this card, and it's worth -5 victory points, as opposed to simply telling them, hey, you can't take that turn, don't do that, take that back. So, yeah, and this moves from player to player, so if you have it, if you're given it by the players at the table, you are then supposed to be watching everyone else for a mistake, so you can push it onto them. That's it. Let's go back up top. Let me tell you what I liked and what I didn't like about the game. All right, so let's talk about this. Thematic ties. No, not really. This could have been anything, and I don't think it's particularly original to be given here a way to go, you know? And I don't think it's necessarily that good of a fit that helps explain the game particularly well. Why are we throwing away any fish? What's with the colored fish thing? It's window dressing, and the theme's not even that interesting or good, so no on the theme here. And the thematic ties, you know, how that relates to what's going on. The aesthetics, I do think, are cute. I like the aesthetics just fine, but again, nothing necessarily revolutionary in the look, and I don't think the iconography in those extra cards, the gold cards, is particularly good either. The fish cards look good. They're clear. Numbers are nice. Fish illustration, that's nice. But it's overall, once I think about all the parts together, just fine. Though the production quality is quite nice. The replayability. is fine for a filler game. You know, this is a cute game. I've enjoyed playing several hands of it. It's a game I've even played multiple times back to back because it is so quick, partly. But the replayability and the discovery of new things you can do, all of that stuff is just not really there. It's a very... it feels, as far as the replayability goes, as a by-the-numbers sort of design, you know. The game length, as I said, is quite good. The game is short. It's a quick hit, and I appreciate that that does not outstay its welcome and works for that. One game, for example, from one of the co-designers here, Wolfgang Kramer, that I did find also got a lot of buzz but outstayed its welcome was Lenkel, or Abluxen, if you know that name originally. Whereas this one does not. This one is much faster and quicker. And this is a lot more like 6-Nimt anyway than Abluxen. The ease of play is very high, except for apparently they thought that the rules were so tricky to figure out, and I guess they could be a little bit, right? I mean, you got to explain this idea of like, can I play... you know, if I break the color of the next card, even if it's somewhere else, can I play it? You know, I could see that being slightly problematic. But apparently they thought that that was so quirky and different that they felt the need to include a card that penalizes someone 5 victory points for messing up, and force the players to police each other by including that concept in the game, as opposed to simply saying... and not even saying, this is an obvious thing in basically every game, hey, if you made a mistake, take it back. And don't make the mistake, right? So I don't like that. You know, I thought that that made the game goofier than it needed to be. It's already a very cute, silly game. Why add in such a nasty penalty that you then force the players to police or get stuck with because you made a mistake learning the game, let's say. I don't like that card. I think that's not a good idea, but at least it's easy to just leave it in the box and not institute such a idiotic idea, honestly. So there you go. That's easy to play. And then lastly, tactics and strategy, luck, things like that. The game has a high dose of luck. It's a game in which if you can play out all 4 of your cards and it leads to a nice setup of 5 cards, which is going to allow you to score a whole bunch of points, great. If your hand, and you only have 4 cards, does not lead to that, then boo for you. Next player is probably going to do that instead of you. So you have to always play. I do like the idea of you can play as much or as little as you want as long as you play 1 card. So if you know you're not going to score something, playing a single card, that's usually a better idea than setting someone up considerably by playing 2 or 3, but still not capturing a line, you know. So there's a little bit of that going on in it. One thing I thought would add a lot to the, I played without the goal cards. I figured, okay, these things, I hadn't even read them. The first time I played, I figured these things are going to take this game and kick it up a notch in the tactics department. Well, not really. And the reason not really is because so many of them are cards you get if you are sucking at the game. You know, like, oh, you got more negative points than positive points? Wow, you're bad at this. Here's 7 or 10 points or whatever. So they don't feel like you are doing things tactically in a tactically rich or interesting way, and then you're rewarded. It seems like they are things that happen, again, oftentimes because you're not good at the game or you had a bad hand or whatever, and you are sort of being doled out points randomly here and there. It's fine. I prefer the game without them. I don't think they add anything really to what's going on, except I have more cards to explain and a bunch of symbols to make sure everybody figures out, which I can just leave in the box, play the game more quickly, if I'm teaching, and have more fun because it's a shorter package, it's a little tighter than with those cards. So, not a fan of that. Overall, I think it's a cute filler. I think it's, again, reminds me a little bit of 6-Nimt. I could even see playing this with perhaps a younger crowd then I would teach 6 Nim to. For one thing, it has a cuter theme. It has a theme. And I think it's a simpler game to grasp how to do well in. I know a lot of people out there are 6 Nimmt haters. They think it's a random game, you know, that if you basically play a number card randomly, you can win. That may be the case. But I find that game actually has a nice amount of tactics. When to play high, when to play low, what card to play. And you have a hand of cards at the beginning. This is lighter than that, in which you don't have as much input, let's say, into what's going on, but it's also a little more breezy. You can just sort of chat and play while you're doing this, and you know, then the game's over and you add up some victory points. Hence why I also don't like those other goal cards. So overall, cute. I like it. Not revolutionary. Not something I would say, oh, if you're a Wolfgang Kramer fan, then you go and pick this up, you know. But it's a cute design, and I could certainly see some folks enjoying this as a nice after-dinner card game or something with which to relax, you know. I'm Zee Garcia. Thanks for checking out my review here of Fat Fish, and I'm going to see you on the next one. Take care.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.